Namaste and welcome. My name is Julie Hill and I'm with Yoga Body. I help people eliminate pain and get back into doing the activities they love through finding pure movement. I'm a yoga therapist and a personal trainer, and I work with Reiki energy healing as well. And today I really wanted to talk to you about one of the common compensations that I see when I'm teaching classes as well as working with clients. So looking at how the pelvis moves on top of the femur bones or the legs. Over time, based on our activities in our life and the stress and the load that we carry, often this area can become really restricted in its movement, so that the actual joint of the leg bones and the pelvis, the hip sockets, don't have as much range of motion. And we can start to see compensations coming through the body. You can get a stiffness in lower back, in that mid-back area can start to curve. Even our knees can become stiff. So I wanted to give you some ways that you can really gain perspective on how your pelvis is moving on top of your leg bones, and hopefully gain more range of motion if you find it's an area that you're limited in. Some things that you might want to have available is some kind of dowel. So it could be a broom handle, a mop handle, a long stick, something like that to give you a little more perspective. We'll go ahead and start out using that. So in classes, when we come into a position of stretching out the back of our hamstring, so the hamstrings are really attached into our hips. And so when we come forward, often what we'll find is that we'll come forward so far with the pelvis, and then from there, the back will kind of round. There'll be this change through this mid-back, low back area of the spine, which feels very much like I'm doing a stretch, but what's really happening is that I'm kind of losing that perspective on really getting into the hamstring and allowing that to stretch by keeping the spine in a relaxed and at ease position, allowing ourselves to keep that range of motion happening at the pelvis. So some things that you can do here, looking for this leg bone where it goes into the hip crease. So right when you lift your leg, kind of where all those wrinkles are, where the leg bone goes right in on both sides. And you can take the dowel as you come in. Now I have my leg on a chair so that you can see me, but you can take the dowel and place it behind you. So it gives you really good perspective on your back. So we just want to stand up tall and kind of feel, how does the back of the body, how does the head and the back of the hips and then the lower back, the mid back touch the dowel. So I'm not going to really work to keep my back pressing to the dowel. I'm going to use the dowel as feedback to see what happens as I come forward. Do different areas of my body shift with how they're connecting to the dowel? So I'll start here and then just allow this crease right where the leg and hip meet to increase in flexion, and then coming down here. And I can start to note, does my chin want to come forward? Does my head want to leave the dowel? Is there a pressing sense through this mid-back area wanting to round so that it lifts off of this lower part of my back or my pelvis? So just allowing that to give you a sense of freedom. And you may find that putting a little bend in your knee here allows you to come a little further. But we're just looking for a nice release on the back of this leg and then coming back up. Another tool that you can use is just an empty wall. So we can use the wall to gain feedback and perspective on how the pelvis is really moving here. So coming into a place where the feet don't necessarily need to touch the wall. Mine are about 2 inches in front of the wall. I'm going to use the sound of my pants kind of moving along the wall to give me feedback to if my pelvis is moving or not. So I could come into a forward fold, often done, right, bending over in class. And if you'll notice, here are my hips. Here's the leg crease section. I can come forward, moving my rib cage, and this hasn't changed at all. This degree of flexion is the same, so my pelvis really hasn't come forward. You can start to get a sense of how strain can be put on that lower back and mid-back area. So then from there, I can go ahead and come back up, letting your hips shift, thinking about the crease here and letting it slowly slide up the wall. And you'll hear just a little bit of a ch-ch-ch of your pants coming across the wall there. So you can come down just as far as you can. Again, noticing if the head wants to lift up or down. And then you might put a little bend in your knees to help with balance here, and keep letting the hips come forward. Take a breath and just breathe in softness there. And then you can put the hands on your legs. You can put them on a chair seat, allowing the back of the legs to really stretch out for a breath. From there, we want to come back up. So notice if your desire is to lift with your head to come back up. That's a lot of strain on the back of the neck muscles. Or if the shoulders want to lift up, letting your ribs kind of separate from your hips. Keep it all connected, allowing your center line of stability to be connected there. Think of the pelvis moving first. So you're going to hear that ch-ch-ch-ch-ch, and allowing the hips to really be the mechanism of the movement change. And the shoulders and the head just follow along. So you can try that a couple times and gaining perspective. You'll hear that ch-ch-ch on the wall as you go. I hope that you found these helpful. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions at all or would like more information on this type of therapeutic movement to gain perspective on your own movement patterns so that you can start changing the way that you function, finding easier movement, more efficient in your body, and really getting back into the activities that you love without strain or tension. My website is www.yogabodylllc.com. Here's to a happier and healthier you. Namaste.